Good morning, everyone. I have almost 10 o'clock here on my watch, so I think we'll get started. Some of you are still coming into the meeting room. Uh, just welcome to today's online roundtable. Today's topic is social media marketing, and I'm Dan Bostrom, the Rails Member Engagement Manager. This is a number of we're doing a number of online roundtables in 2019 and 2020 on topics relating to the My Library Is campaign. Some of you might be a little bit confused about what online roundtables are, and let me just note that the emphasis here is peer-to-peer learning. We're hoping that you're here not just to listen, but to participate as well and to contribute your own ideas about things that are happening in your library. Today we have a presentation by someone who's doing social media in their library, Jill Yacht. But we're also looking to hear from you about what's happening in your library and in your community. So here is a quick agenda. This is how we're going to operate today. I'm going to do a quick introduction to some of the things that are happening around Rails and opportunities that you can take advantage of. Then we're going to do the presentation with Jill. And the second half is going to be a text discussion that takes place in the chat box. And then when that's over, we'll come and wrap up and get you on your way for the rest of your day. Okay, so this is your chance to practice using the chat box. If you look on your toolbar, you're going to see that there's a chat option, and it looks a little bit like this below. Try using that, and we would love to hear about where you're from. Just make sure when you write in your chat box, you can put your name, your title, your institution, and then one exciting thing that's happening at your libraries. Make sure to choose that all attendees and panelists option. If you just choose all panelists, that's just going to go to me and Jill, and what fun would that be? We want everybody to see it. So try that out right now. Introduce yourself. We'd love to hear who you are, where you come from, and what's going on at your library. So again, before we get to Jill's presentation, I want to do some quick news and opportunities from Rails. So today's roundtable is part of the My Library Is campaign, and we also have some great continuing education on this coming up as well. Next week, we have a webinar, PR plus Media Relations 101, PR as part of library marketing. This is on Tuesday, December 10th, 1:30 to 3 p.m. Jennifer Burke is the president at IntelliCraft Research, LLC, a strategic marketing consultancy for libraries. Jennifer is a frequent presenter at major conferences and is currently president of the board of the nonprofit Library Marketing Conference Group, and that is the organization that puts on the Library Marketing and Communications Conference every year. In her presentation, Jennifer will talk about the difference between promotion and PR, how to identify the hook of a press release, and she'll talk about the main elements and ingredients in a successful media kit. So again, that's Tuesday next week at 1:30 p.m., and you can sign up via L2. Another webinar that we have coming up in January relating to the My Library Is campaign. This is marketing and community partnerships. It's on Thursday, January 16th, 1:30 to 3 p.m. Again, this relates to the My Library Is campaign. Caitlin Coward is the community and public relations manager at the San Antonio Public Library, and she's going to talk about the importance of community partnerships and how they connect to marketing efforts in libraries. Again, January 16th, and registration is available via L2. So I've mentioned this a couple times here, and I hope you are all familiar with the My Library Is campaign. We have a dedicated website for resources, training, and examples of people telling their story in regards to libraries. The URL you can see there is mylibraryis.org. On that site, you're going to find videos, press releases, individual stories, and a lot more. We also have a blog, and I wanted to mention one blog post that we released very recently. This is from Kristen Johnson from the Lewis University Library in Romeoville. She talked a little bit about their social media efforts. They have a really fun social media approach. She kind of details the principles behind that. And if you get a chance, follow them on your social media channels. Check them out. I think that they do a really unique version of it, and it relates to today's topic as well. Last thing I'm going to mention, inky.org. I hope you've all heard about this. We're no longer in NaNoWriMo or National Novel Writing Month, but this is something that anyone can use. And the wonderful thing about it is it's free for libraries. It's free for the readers and writers connected to your libraries. There are two sides of it. The writer's side includes unlimited access to Pressbook software, which allows your patrons the ability to create their own ebooks. The reader side of it is access to BiblioBoard, which is a free ebook platform. And we've worked really hard to link these two functions so readers can actually publish an ebook and put it directly onto the Indie Illinois collection on BiblioBoard, which is really amazing. How cool is that? You can tell something you can tell your patrons and writers groups about. Okay, so at this point, we're going to turn it over to Jill. And Jill, I am going to give you control. I think you should have it right there.
I should. Thank you so much. How are you, everybody? All right, hang on, Dan. Let's see here. There, I lost the screen.
I'll get you back. I'll get you back.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
All right. And there we go. Well, good morning, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about social media for marketing for the library. Now, first of all, in some of my research, I saw that 86% of U.S. adults are on at least one social media platform. And that includes Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, Meetup, Snapchat, TikTok. Just one way or another, 86% of us are on social media. And even if they're not actively using it every day, they have at least one of these accounts. Some adults, like me, are on multiple platforms. And reasons may vary, including personal use, professional use, or simply just spying on our kids, because I have a couple of kids and I look at their YouTube to see exactly what they are doing. But which one should the library use? Well, different platforms attract different age groups. And here are some notable statistics that I found from this past July. Facebook draws in 70% of adult users, with most of them being older than 35. But Instagram users, most of them are under the age of 30. I thought this was really interesting. About 22% of Americans use Twitter. Roughly 10% of those users are responsible for 80% of the tweets, meaning just 2% of Americans are contributing to a majority of the site's dialogue. To me, that was just absolutely fascinating. Also, 90% of 18 to 24-year-olds use YouTube, and I find that a little bit younger as well, because my children who are 8 and 10 really love YouTube. And 20% of US adults use LinkedIn. What are the keys of posting on these channels? So we want to be consistent. You want to commit to posting a few times a week, if not daily. Now, I know with all your responsibilities, it can be hard to fit it all in. But if you don't post, your channels will not grow. Use the scheduling features of the platforms, for example, Facebook. Now, here at Indian Prairie, we schedule 99% of posts. But in order to remain good in Facebook's algorithms, it's key to do spontaneous posts. So, for example, yesterday for Giving Tuesday, I scheduled one of the posts, but I posted 2 of them in real time. Facebook's algorithms are so weird, and I like to try to play tricks on them, and this is one of the good ways to do it. So not always have everything scheduled, send out posts in real time. Now, you can grow your followers organically simply by posting meaningful content. I've been at Indian Prairie a year, and previous frequency before I started, it was very sporadic and it wasn't very consistent. But I started posting on Facebook, for example, once or twice daily. And in the last year, I've saw an increase in my followers by 20%. I haven't done any special campaigns. I haven't asked people to like the page for any reason. This is just by posting consistently. Same thing with my Instagram. I grow my Instagram followers at least 10 to 12 a month. And that may not sound like a lot, but it is, because I feel like, yes, well, a lot of times we all follow each other as in the library world. I do find I have meaningful interactions with my patrons because they know they post on my account, because we post on our account. And finally, we want to be on trend, but always remain on brand. So I like to use the example of last year, January, even though I know it reared its head again. Facebook was doing the What's Your Age challenge. So I took a current building photo, and then I took one of our empty parking lot when we were just 30 years ago, and I posted it. I could not believe that was my most liked and shared post ever, because that was what everybody was doing at the time, and I decided, well, why can't we be part of that? And people loved it. It was amazing. I tried to repeat the success of this post last week because I saw the What's Your Aging 10-year challenge go around again. Well, it still got engagement. It wasn't quite as successful as the first time. But again, I noticed a trend that was happening, and I decided to go along with it. So some of the things to avoid when marketing and posting on social media, using too many memes. Memes can be really off color and not represent your brand. Now, it's important even when posting memes, while some of them are really funny, you don't know where the photo originates from. So maybe if you've ever seen the one with, oh my God, goosebumps, that actually, there's a whole story behind it where the young girl who was actually pictured in that photo, it was part of a Halloween costume, and she's actually really embarrassed by the meme. So it's one of those that I'm sure you've seen thousands of times that your friends or maybe other companies or even a library have posted. It's one of those that if you actually took the time and read the take on the authors, or excuse me, the person who's in the photo, that's very embarrassing for them. So you don't know where it came from. Also, writing posts that reflect your personal views. Be general, but be genuine. Now, you represent your library. And social media is just one of the voices behind the scenes. So it is easy and sometimes to have your kind of personal views, take over, meaning I love dogs. So if there's ever a chance I can take part in something like, say, National Dog Day, we're going to do it because I love dogs. But again, that's being on trend, but I'm set and to be on brand, I'm using the dogs of the people at the library. And it was great. It involved staff engagement, the community liked it, and it was a lot of fun. But even as I'm writing our posts, and I'm not the only one that writes posts at the library, somebody else in my department does, I always make sure that we say we and not I, because we don't want to use opinions, because again, we represent the library. Another thing to avoid is using schedulers like Hootsuite. I know it's convenient, but it really does affect those algorithms and how your posts are seen. Facebook is smart, and they want us all to pay for advertising and likes and everything like that. So by paying for a scheduler, and rather than using Facebook scheduler, it's one of those things that it really does affect the algorithm. So you definitely want to watch that. And then finally, another thing to avoid is having presence on all the channels if you can't maintain them. So in advance of this presentation, I took a hard look at my channels. And again, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Meetup, and we are on Twitter. And honestly, with YouTube, I realized while I post, I don't post that much. And that is something I don't want to get rid of the channel, because when I do something on YouTube or when I've done targeted advertising, I reach an audience that I normally don't even reach. I did a campaign for our smart home kits, which involve like a Google Home. And I found that the 18 to 24-year-old male audience was seeing my ads. And I've run a couple of other ads, but that is the audience that truly is on YouTube. And you can target advertising and everything, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But what is the value of being on social media? Now, I'm married to someone who does not see the value in social media, but I see it as a parent, as a community member, as somebody who works at a library, because you make connections with your schools, including individual teachers. I follow a lot of individual teachers for the library on Instagram, and a lot of times they will tag us in posts. And I like their posts because I get to see what's going on in the schools and seeing if maybe there's a way we can be part of something that we wouldn't be able to know about otherwise because we're not in the classroom. We can make connections with local business people. We've had realtors that have no library connection whatsoever see a post on our Instagram account and share it. The same thing with other business owners, people who are invested in the library for some reason. Maybe they've given a donation to us. Maybe they've come to one of our events, but they follow us and we follow them. And it's just another way to build relationships. And then the opportunity for the post to be shared or go viral without spending any paid dollars. And I have shared other libraries' posts as well, because again, I know it helps them. I want to give credit where credit is due. And maybe there is an opportunity for another library or somebody in the community to learn something about us from one of their friends. For example, we posted something about our homebound service program. I saw that people were sharing it, that I didn't have to pay for that advertising. People were doing it for me because they thought it was interesting. And with so many people on social media, you'll connect with people who may not read your newsletter, visit your website, or know really anything about you other than your post. I'm always amazed by people who will like a post for whatever reason, and maybe they don't like our page. Maybe they just follow us. Or maybe perhaps, like I have friends that will check in periodically because they know I work at the library, and they will like a post and they will say, wow, I just visited your site to see what you're doing. And if my friends are doing it, I know other people are too. There is definitely value there because you reach people that you wouldn't find who would not send. Maybe they put your newsletter in the garbage can, but they'll see something on social media and they'll get excited about it. So how to post? Well, one of the things that I like to do is I like to follow other libraries on the channels you wish to be on. So for example, I follow New York Public Library and other neighboring libraries because I like to see what they're doing and see if there's something that I can borrow from them. After all, don't we all borrow from each other? Also, I have followed celebrities to see what they're doing that are on trend and seeing how I can mimic appropriate trends on library accounts. So I have an Instagram that I have set up for me that has nothing to do with the library accounts, but I follow a lot of things that may be of interest to me. For example, like Reese Witherspoon and her Sunshine Book Club. I'd like to see what she's doing to see if there's anything I can do with that on our own accounts. And again, I also follow celebrities that have nothing to do with the library, but I look for the things that are trending and seeing how I can apply them for us. Also, use events calendars to create posts and tie these to your collection. So today is National Cookie Day, and we all have cookbooks for cookies, right? In our library, we also have been printing cookie cutters on our 3D printer. So I decided to tie both of them together in a post. So this way, I can be part of that. I mentioned National Dog Day earlier. Well, there was a National Orange Cat Day, which I believe was September 1st. So one of our staff members from pulling together an animal post earlier in the year had an orange cat. So I decided to post that cat randomly. And next thing I know, I have people who are sharing photos of their animals. It was the happiest and greatest post ever. What does it have to do with our collection? Nothing, but it made people see us as humans at the library. People who maybe wouldn't have interacted, names that I have never seen on our account before, who are totally interested and invested in what we are doing. And I know it can be hard to do these things. Now, granted, this is part of my job, and I have somebody else who helps me with my job in doing posts on social media. And I did see a question pop up in the chat, which I know we'll get to some more later, but about, well, what if you're the only person doing it? Or what if this is just something you do as you have time? Again, if you only post on Facebook, say 3 times a week, that's okay. You don't have to do it every day. You can be consistent and you will see your followers, you'll see engagement, you'll see benefits from just being consistent. And no, you don't have to be on every social media channel. Quite honestly, I've put most of my effort towards Facebook and Instagram. I will post on LinkedIn, but I only do that weekly. And I only have 134 followers on there. and I don't have a lot of engagement, but I post something that maybe is related to jobs, something I can copy and paste quickly from our newsletter or our website that I can put on there that won't take me a lot of time to always craft a new message. And it's okay to pull things like that across the channels, just so this way you're being current, you're representing your library well. And remember, if it's something that we're the best kept secret in town, if you think about it, people are always amazed when they find out the things that we do. This is just one method to tell them about what we're doing, is social media. Dan?
All right, thank you so much, Jill. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so as you mentioned before, we are at the point where we could do our text discussion, and we're gonna let people ask some questions. So if you do have a question for Jill, make sure to submit it in that chat box. We've already got, as you mentioned, we've already got some coming in, but feel free to do that right now. Just do remember that when you are submitting a question, remember to check that all presenters and attendees, or sorry, all panelists and attendees, because that is going to send it to the larger group instead of just to Jill and myself. Okay, I'm just going back through, through the chat. All right, so Jill, you pretty much answered that one as kind of, being the solo librarian. I definitely feel that, and I think a lot of folks, also have that same issue where they're the only person in their library, maybe the only person doing what they do. How do you stay on top of it all? But I really like your suggestion because, frankly, you have to sort of pick and choose, in my opinion. And when we get to our prepared questions here, our discussion questions in a little bit, I want people to keep that in mind as well. Also, a couple things that really resonated for me, Joe, that you were talking about is the algorithms thing and how often algorithms change and how to stay on top of that.
It's unreal sometimes, because it seems like you'll get ahead of the curve, and then all of a sudden, like, why aren't people seeing my posts? So in that case, I have found to do a few authentic posts, or I have also done things where I have decided to tell people flat out, hey, Facebook just changing their algorithms again. If you could just throw us a couple of likes if you see this post, it would really help us. And people follow, they see it, and it's like, oh, geez, thanks. And I've done that a few random times over the year. I don't do it all the time, but I let people know, and I think people share the same frustrations. They may not be seeing us in their feed, or maybe it's not just us. Maybe it's a shopping site, because I belong to tons of shopping deal sites on Facebook, and I will see people that will say, oh, stop seeing posts, and it's like, oh, Facebook changes algorithms again. So somebody will suggest, oh, just like the post, you start seeing again. And it's true, you can do different things and it will help.
Yeah, and also, the consistency thing. The consistency thing is huge. You really do need to be consistent on these, and I know that, again, that sort of takes people down the road of like, oh, well, I just don't have the time because I have a million other things to sort of address. But if you can post every single day, that is sometimes optimal. It also depends. I think you're right. It sort of depends on the channels that you choose. So really, I think you hit a lot of the highlights for me, especially. Okay, so I'm seeing some comments, and I want to acknowledge comments in both questions too. Okay, so Jennifer says, I share a lot of other libraries' posts. As a solo librarian, it's hard to find time to come up with stuff myself, of course, but I can steal
we all share with each other.
Yes, exactly. But I can steal other libraries' comics or memes or whatever to have something else pop up. That's great, and that's true. Like, your audience might not necessarily be the same audience as somebody else. I mean, you have completely different communities, so that really is a big one. Donna says, I have a personal account on a meme generator website. Oh, that's cool. It only costs
really cool.
It only costs a couple of dollars per month. I can use images and graphics from our library in creating on-topic memes for our library. Thank you, Donna. That's awesome. That's a really good tip.
And you're using your photos, and that's key, because again, you don't want to share memes where you don't know where they originated from. And like, although I have seen some cute ones of Baby Yoda going around. Oh my gosh, Baby Yoda is so cute.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
But it's one of those things that's currently trending right now. So in fact, right before we started this panel discussion, our 3D printer is printing Yoda right now. So I wrote something to tie that in and tie in a program for tonight. It took me a minute, but sometimes that's sometimes the way I post. If I see something, I try to take advantage of it. And I'm also part-time here at the library, so I'm not here every day. So I do rely on other staff members to tell me things that I may not know, so I can keep us on current and on trend and on brand.
Yeah, that's nice to have that feedback from other people too. I think if you're trying to do this yourself, that sometimes does lead to, that can lead to consistency and a pretty uniform approach. But sometimes you do also miss out on those trends and kind of surfing the wave of what's popular right now. So
and uniformity is key. The library, the marketing in general, it should sound like it came from one voice and not like 10 different voices.
Right.
But sometimes, in this case, if you are a solo librarian and maybe there's a few of you, maybe on Monday, youth services posts, and then maybe on Wednesday, adult services posts, and then maybe on Friday, the computer lab posts. Maybe you can all agree on the same kind of language. So this way, only one department is responsible per week for doing a post. And that's another way to just stay consistent, because the last thing you want to do is also step on each other's toes, because then you're duplicating efforts. One of the things, again, when I first started, I didn't have the social media accounts. I wasn't managing them when I first started. And I remember doing a post, and 2 minutes later, another department did a post. And about 5 minutes after that, another department did a post. And I was like, well, that wasn't cool, because we just confused the message for everybody. And so, it went back to no, I will post on behalf of the library, but it is one of those things that you can schedule it out if you're a small library or there's multiple people that need to be responsible. Just create a schedule so that way everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, this is a great segue to Donna. Donna has a question, Jill, for you. Her question is, how often should we reshare upcoming events?
Well, this is what I do. Now, one of the things that I post on Facebook, I try not to post no more than 3 times a day. Because, again, it sounds crazy with, on Facebook algorithms or Instagram algorithms, the fact that the more you post, Facebook wants you to buy advertising. And, I don't have that kind of budget to constantly buy advertising. I do buy advertising here and there, but I'm talking I buy $15 worth of advertising, not hundreds of dollars worth of advertising, depending on what the event is. And if you post sometimes several times in a day, it will start driving down how people see your posts. So if, for example, we have a poetry workshop this Saturday, and we created an event for it, which is another way that, that you can get the word out there. So it's not just a post, it's an event. We did a post yesterday about it, and I plan to have another post about it this week, just to, on the tie-in National Handwriting Day, just, a day to write. Hey, why don't you just come and write at the library, practice your handwriting, write in our poetry workshop. So I guess for me, I try to not saturate people so they see, oh my gosh, again. Or if I'm going to post something, I also try to put just a little different spin on it so they don't think they saw it already. Because again, if you look at your personal Facebook, your personal Instagram, sometimes no matter how you sort it, you might see a post from last week, or you might see something that just happened a few minutes ago. Again, it's all about those crazy algorithms, which I see Jennifer has kind of segueing to that. Do I know of websites that offer unbiased advice on how to address changing algorithms? Honestly, I don't. A lot of this comes from me following a lot of different kind of sites personally, and it seems like the buzz is that people start looking for, people start complaining altogether, and I notice it myself. Again, I'm an actual user of multiple channels simply because I feel like it's, for me, for my job, is something I should be on trend and on brand for. So I look for those things, and I try to address them the best I can personally.
Yeah, actually, Jennifer, I put in a suggestion there. HubSpot is one that that I've used before. I think it's just I can't look at it right now, but it's www.hubspot.com, I think, and they're like a social media marketing journal type blog. But I would suggest if anyone else follows places to get advice on how to address changing algorithms, put them in there.
That would be
I
great.
Yeah, sometimes these social media these platforms don't do a very good job of tell you how they're changing. So so they so outside advice is always useful.
I
You
see
know,
that Donna has a follow-up question in regards to the events.
yes, yeah, go ahead.
So Donna, so if you do a once a week in the run up to an event and then a couple of times the last week before, no, I don't think that's too much at all. It depends on what the event is. Are you talking about a major event like last year we did a mini golf fundraiser in the library? And I posted a lot about that. I posted about it almost nearly every day, like a countdown, trying to build suspense. But if it's just a regular program, I will post about it a couple of times. It depends on the program because like not every one of our programs needs social media love. Some of them do. And like, and again, there's no rhyme or reason. Like again, I have a Star Wars program tonight and I thought for sure that we would fill. Like I thought for sure. And we are not at all. So we're giving it a little extra love. And instead, I also do, in addition to social media, we also have an e-news. So that's just another way that people will find out about things. And I try to tie both of those together. Again, a whole other subject for a whole other day. But no, I think if you're changing up your message just a little bit so people don't think they saw it last week, I think you're totally okay.
Yeah, I would agree. And Donna says we have launched a local author series with a local author presentation once a month. Yeah, I think once a week is certainly fine. You know, a couple times in a week that's okay, just as long just as long as it's not like you know pounding it the a couple times a day. I think that's fine.
Oh,
I'm
yes, because then people will get mad and they will unfollow you.
Yeah.
And you can actually see how people react to, like, say on Facebook. I mean, you can actually see how people react. If somebody decides to mark you as spam, if you can see if somebody decides to unsubscribe, if somebody, you know, what was interesting, and so this stands out in my mind, last December, I did a Facebook post for Festivus. Why? I'm a Seinfeld fan, and I know a lot of people are. And I noticed that I saw one person, they decided to unlike her page after that, and it was that post that did it for them. And then I was panicked, like, oh man, was it? And I wasn't off color or anything, but I mean, I used our collection china and I took some pictures of some of our Seinfeld DVDs, so it wasn't just like random Festivus. But then a couple of days later, I noticed that I had my site drop by 10 likes, and I'm like, what is going on? Well, I learned that Facebook cleaned out the amount of inactive, like people who have reported like a deceased person for an account, they cleaned out those likes. And my account dropped by 10 people. And then that made me sad. I'm like, wow, did 10 people who follow our Facebook really die this year? But Facebook does weird things like that without any notice. So sometimes if you have a big drop, there's a rhyme or reason behind it.
Yeah, and I also want to acknowledge Daniel had a response. Daniel says, I tend to put up an event the week before it happens, and then I will put up a banner on our Facebook page the week of as a visual reminder, while not feeling like I'm spamming people too much with reminders. That's a great piece of advice.
I
Thank
love
you.
that idea. I've done that too. And that's fantastic.
And I just want to note that I put in our first. People can still ask questions, but I put in our first discussion post. We've got about a half an hour here, and I've got a couple questions to get to. So notice I used in the chat box. I used Q1. It says. Just say how platforms. It should say what platforms are you using in your social media marketing, and how did you choose those platforms? So Jill, you talked a little bit about this in your presentation. Maybe while people are answering it, and people everyone, while you're in the chat box, if you can use A1 just to say, you know, I'm answering question 1, that'd be really helpful just to organize our chat a little bit. But Jill, maybe you can talk about, you know, again, how you chose your platforms and which ones you're using in your social media marketing.
Sure. So I've been at Indian Courier, and before that, I was at the Oak Lawn Library. And So part of the reason that at least in Indian Prairie, that we chose the platforms that we have, like some of them, they were in place. And it does seem like a lot of people are on Facebook. And it does cover the biggest market share out there. And you said I use Facebook. I said I'm in my early 40s. I use Facebook. And a lot of people I know in that age range use Facebook. Now, Instagram, I love Instagram. And I find that a lot of people respond to visuals. Now on Instagram, I only post 5 to 7 days a week, or seven times a week. So I'm consistent, but I'm not all over the place on it. Today I did post on it twice because something inspired me. LinkedIn is something that I only started doing fairly recently. We always had a LinkedIn account, but it was neglected. And I realized you hit on a different set of adults on LinkedIn. So my non-social media loving husband is on LinkedIn, and he finds value in that. And then I realized, and through some research, that you are reaching a different kind of audience through LinkedIn. YouTube, again, is all about who you're reaching, like on YouTube. That 18 to 24-year-old male crowd, that's huge to be able to get them. But that's kind of like, I just kind of pick and choose. Now we have Twitter, and Twitter has been handled by our adult services team. And while we have a lot of followers, I do struggle with the fact sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, I don't see quite the engagement, but then I will see that the school librarian from the high school down the street will tag us. So it's a matter of just you're reaching different people. We used to have a Pinterest account. Nobody was on it. It was a really easy thing to get rid of. And then we've had other ones over time. It looked like we had Snapchat, but nobody was updating it. So I would rather not have it and look neglected. So if you're using the main ones, which it looks like some of you are, like Jennifer Davis at Peoria and Jenny Losi, sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, looks like Facebook and Instagram. It looks like there's a lot of, we're all using a lot of the same ones. No, it looks like nobody's on TikTok, which I know is fairly recent, which I don't, I guess I'm that older crowd, so.
Yeah, thank you all for all the answers that are coming in. Donna says, I inherited Facebook and Twitter when hired in. I have not really done much else since I started, but I'm only doing marketing part-time and other duties the rest of the time. Thank you, Donna. Daniel, primarily Instagram and Facebook, with more use of Facebook, though we are hoping to change that in the new year. Interesting. We already had those platforms prior to me coming in, but they were done more by a committee than a dedicated person assigned. I think that's pretty common. Jennifer, Facebook, it is the only one I use personally, so it was the format that I was most familiar with, and that counts for a lot. So I originally also started a Twitter account, but found that most people in town don't use it, so I've discontinued using it. Okay, good, yeah.
On that, that's kind of one of the things I was looking at our Twitter, Dan and Jennifer, is that I find, there was something posted maybe about 6 months ago, and I think one of the library marketing groups, and it said, what would happen if we all stopped following each other on social media? What would our accounts look like? And who was really looking at our accounts? And you know what? And I kind of wonder that with my Twitter. Like, my Facebook is very authentic. My Instagram is probably about half and half. But I get it. If people in town aren't using it, kick it to the curb. Put your efforts on your patrons. That's who's using your community, the people who walk into your building or live in your community. So Jennifer, I applaud you for recognizing that and kicking it to the curb.
Yeah, it's smart. Yeah, it really is a science where you need to measure it and you need to watch it and make sure that the approach you're using is the right one. Jennifer says Peoria uses Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for the most part, and LinkedIn and YouTube less so. Would like to do more with YouTube, but it's hard to find the time to videos.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
and you want a quality video too.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I have somebody who can do videos for me here at the library, but they take time. And I'm lucky that he has a talent for it, but it's not all he does in his job description. But when he does one, it's like, wow, I love it.
Yeah, it really can take up a lot. It really is a time suck, I think. But yeah, but agreed. There are people, and there's that statistic that YouTube is the second largest search engine out there,
Mhm.
which is definitely not something to be ignored. But I think we all sort of need to figure out how to do those things efficiently, but also effectively. Um, Jennifer Losi says Facebook and Instagram. We started with Instagram, trying to reach a younger demographic, but without success. We followed a lot of other libraries, but only one patron. Yeah, sometimes you really do have to sort of experiment to see what works. I know. I know a lot of libraries that have Instagram accounts, and some are using it more effectively than others. It really just depends on.
I think it depends on your community. Because here I do have a couple of moms who consistently tag us on Instagram and some teachers. But I know I'll see a lot of my likes and follows come from libraries that are not even in our area. So we're in Darien, but there's a Darien, Connecticut, and we have some of our followers who I think that we're the Darien, Connecticut library. And I'm like, okay, I'll go with it, but really, I get it. I wish more people used us, and we'll have our team will say in programs like, "Hey, don't forget to tag us." But people don't think about it. But I do have some that do. It does come. It's just not as many I would like either, Jenny. So I get it.
That's funny about the Darien, Connecticut, because that's a very nice library, and they I think that they have a very big social media presence. So of
They
course,
do, and a lot of people think that's us.
yeah, but Indian Prairie also has a great library and a great social media presence. So that certainly yeah, it works. Okay, so I just want to note that I put in the second discussion question in there. How often do you post? What days of the week or times of the day work best? And while people are typing, Jennifer had another comment. The confusion of town and state is the reason all of my social media accounts
That's a
include
great idea.
Illinois in the name. Yeah, it does. It really does. Especially if you have a very common, town name or something that.
I will tag my Instagram, Darien, Illinois, Burr Ridge, Illinois, Willowbrook, Illinois, because those are the 3 towns that we serve part of. So
Yeah.
I always add that in there. And then when I worked at Oak Lawn, I used to do Oak Lawn, Illinois.
Smart.
So that way, people knew.
Yeah. And
Now,
Jennifer just adds Milledgeville,
Yeah.
Georgia is much larger than we are. I actually have their website booked on my computer to redirect the people who call me by accident.
That's so funny.
Good. Thank you, Jennifer.
Now, Danny asked how often do you post and which days of the week or times of the day work best? Now, from a Facebook perspective, I have found that my early morning posts draw the most engagement, the ones that launch somewhere between 5 and 7 a.m. Throughout the day, I'll have sometimes a post around noon, sometimes around 2. If I'm doing 3 times a day, I will have posts happen. Usually, if they're twice a day, it's like that 5 to 7 range and somewhere between that 2 and 3 range. That seems to work best for me with the people who are on our account. And I don't know if that's necessarily right or wrong, but I mean, like on LinkedIn, it's what I remember. I mean, truth be told, it's what I remember. If I don't do it on Monday, I usually think about it on Wednesday. I do have a tick list of just things I do every week, and that's one of those. I'm like, oh, I ran out of time on Monday. I better do it first thing on Wednesday morning. On Instagram, it's one of those things that I don't have a real schedule for it either. I have pushed through posts on a Saturday or a Sunday, but I don't find people are, at least for me, engaging with me as much on Instagram on the weekend. It seems to be during the week, and that could be due to the fact, as I mentioned earlier, I have a library of libraries that follow me. So, and I think that could be the reason why. But
Yeah. I've heard that there's a push on like Sunday night that a lot of people have found Sunday night to actually be a very like engaging time because people are, like around 4 to 6 p.m. people are like sitting on the couch, just thinking about getting ready for their work week or whatever, and they're looking at social media. So that's kind of a sneaky time, right? But I definitely agree with the early morning. I'm surprised that you said 5 to 7, but I guess there's some truth to that.
well, I mean, I'm an early riser, and and it's so funny. I always, like, before I go to work, I scan social media to see what's on. So if somebody posts early, chances are I'm able to, look at that and they capture me. One of the things that Donna Forbes said, that she likes to post photos of events as they are happening or right after to brag about attendance. And plus, people love to see each other. They love when you post photos and they see themselves and they tag each other, and it's just another way to draw engagement. And if in regards to posting photos, if you show a big room shot, while that's okay, it could be a little bit boring. But if you post a close-up of, let's just say, maybe the child sitting on the mother's lap, or maybe you post a photo of the adult using the sewing machine in your program, those are much more engaging photos. So that, again, this is, again, a whole other topic for a whole other day. But those kind of photos will also draw kind of engagement too, because yes, you can brag about, hey, we had all these people here today, but then they'll see each other. Maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's your grandma, maybe it's, your best friend from kids' best friends from school. But there'll definitely be sharing, and there will be reaction because you posted a human's face.
Yeah, the human element, definitely. It's underrated, but it's super important. Okay, I want to get to some of these responses to the second question. Okay, so going back, Jennifer says, I do not have a real schedule. I could say once about a week, but that does not always hold true. I frequently post on Wednesdays simply because that is the day when we are open in the mornings. That's a good reason.
That's great.
Yeah, Donna says, you said this. Donna Forbes says, I do weekly posts on Mondays with a quick overview of upcoming events for the week, and then I tend to share events before they happen. Yep, good one. Let's see here. Jennifer says, we post daily on Facebook, more sporadically on Twitter and Instagram. I try to vary posting times, hoping to confuse those pesky algorithms. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Very good, Jennifer. Donna, I also like to post photos of the events as they are happening or right after to brag about attendance. It's a great one. Jennifer L says, I try to post at 7:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Oh, that's a good idea. I post on Sunday morning when one of our elementary school students is in the newspaper. Oh yeah, that's great.
Oh, I love that.
Daniel says, I have a schedule where I have at least one post a day, typically with a theme. Meme Monday, Wednesday wisdom, etc. I don't typically post Saturdays, but otherwise typically 2 to 3 times a day on Facebook and Instagram. I try for 1 to 2 times per week. Thank you, Daniel. Jennifer has a question. Jenny L has a question. Does anyone else feel queasy about violating privacy in posting pictures?
Now, my photo policy covers me taking photos and posting them. But obviously, if I will ask if it's okay, I take the photo and post it on social media. Especially when you're getting up and close personal with somebody, and I'm obviously in your face with my iPad or a camera, it's not a surprise. And I will say, hey, is it okay if I post this? Because technically my policy covers me, but I always like to ask. Every now and then I will have some, it's like, say it's an adorable photo, and maybe the mom, or I assume was a mom, will say, I'm the nanny, and I'll say, okay, no problem. I delete the photo. It's, to me, that's like, no, I'm not going to do that. As a parent, I'm like, I'm not doing that. And a lot of times, a parent's like, oh my gosh, can you email me this photo? And I'm like, sure, no problem. So, I definitely do. We're covered by our policy, but I do ask, especially when it comes to children. Because I did run across, I had a patron who I interviewed for a story, and after we started talking, she told me at the end that I couldn't use anything, she told me, because she was in the middle of a terrible domestic disturbance or dispute. And I was like, oh, I love the things that she told me, but they were so specific to her that no, I'm not going to do that to her. But you just never know why people say no. But I always ask. And even when we post names of people, like, let's just say prize winners, we only use first name, last initial. And we tell people that we're going to use you in our promotion, and they're like, okay, and so we don't identify. It might be like, oh, it's Hunter J or Lincoln Y. We tell people so this way they know and they know what to expect.
Yeah, I do think that it all starts with having an ironclad policy, a very specific policy, because that can go a long way to preventing issues and problems.
I came from a college at one point, and we had any person that we took any photo of that we used in any kind of publicity sign a photo release.
Yeah.
And that's another way you could do it too. And then that way they gave your permission.
Yep.
If obviously you're throwing them on the cover of your newsletter, you probably want to have some kind of permission or some way that they know this is going to happen. Because at Oak Lawn, I had a grade school friend. I would take pictures of her and her daughter, and we used it on the cover of the newsletter. And I know this is like newsletter, but I asked her, I said, hey, I need you to sign a photo release because I may use it in various places. And she was fine with it, but this way she's not surprised. And again, I told her what our expectation was. We would not identify the last name, but obviously if it's somebody in the community, they're going to know who it is.
Yeah.
But but your policy should somehow include this if you're queasy about it.
Right. And there's some great responses to this out there too. Jennifer Davis says, we are very careful to get permission before posting recognizable faces on social media. Sometimes it's written permission, sometimes if a group, it's verbal. Yep, very good, Jennifer. Jennifer G says, I always take my pictures at a distance and try not to focus in on anyone specific. If I have a new family come to town, I'll ask mom, dad, grandpa, grandma if it's okay to post. We do take pictures at Halloween or more specific groups, and I do ask if I don't know the family if it's okay to post on Facebook. If someone asks, I'll take the picture down or fuzz out the face if I can. I don't tag anyone. I leave that to the parents. Very good. Donna says, I have a standing policy that if someone is attending a library program, they could be included in social media posts. We never post any identified information on who is in the photo unless it is the presenter, etc. Daniel says, we have listed in our newsletter that anyone participating in our programs must permit their picture being taken. I also like to ask permission as much as possible as well. Donna says, I like sharing pictures of story hour, but I try to take pictures from behind the kids while they are listening to the story. That's a good practice. That way, the only face in the picture is library staff. Yeah, definitely a good one. Janielle says, thanks, everyone. Oh, Donna says, we have our photo settings so that photos cannot be tagged. Oh, yeah,
that's great.
That is a great one. Yeah, you can do that in Facebook, which is an important practice. I just put in question 3, but keep questions and responses from the question 2 coming in. So question 3 is, what types of content have you found that resonate with your audience? What doesn't work?
I think that varies on community for sure. And at Oak Lawn, the things that work there didn't work here at Indian Prairie. But I will say, like, anything to do with sky, outer space, summer, winter, fall, spring, solstice, people love here. People absolutely love it. I find that I get a lot of engagement, or when I could be on trend with something. People also love anytime I post anything about a 3D printer, or maybe some service that they didn't know about. Like, for example, we are circulating some Apple TVs, and people went nuts for it because it was something they didn't know about. I do find that my events don't always get the same kind of love. It depends on the event, though. What's interesting is you just never know what is going to make people want to share your event, or for the potential for the event to be shared and go viral. Yeah. And I see that Donna Forbes says the patrons love anything to do with kids and special programs. Oh gosh, everybody loves kids. We have a sleigh read program coming where it's just like a family afternoon with stories, mini horses are coming, a balloon artist. People are loving that. And because why? It's something for the family.
Yeah, and in regards to social media approaches, I always try to remember there's the old it's like a dinner party. You should be talking about topics that that covering topics that you would chat with somebody about at a dinner party. So like yes. The weather is always a good one, right?
I did one when we had the first snow in October. I went outside and I wrote with my finger in the snow the date, and I wrote obligatory cold weather post on this library morning. Oh gosh, people loved it because we can all agree about it together.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Cultural, entertainment, arts. The Star Wars. In the next couple weeks, you're only going to see Star Wars stuff ramp up.
And Baby Yoda.
Yes, yes, exactly. Baby Yoda, man, Baby Yoda is so huge right now.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, right?
okay. Also, so getting some great answers from folks out there for Peoria. Since we have such an interesting past, anything historical is really popular. Yes, good. Thank you, Jennifer. Chad says, "What are you reading?" "Quote unquote" posts on Facebook get a lot of engagement. Of course, your audience, they're a literate audience, right? They want to talk
Right.
about what they're posting. Good one. Jennifer, I get a lot of likes on my themed book day pictures. Really, the things that I get the most likes are on the pictures of past events. I get a lot of interest in upcoming events, but then few people responding or sharing them or showing up. Okay. Jenny says, I post photos of the book covers of our new books each week and was surprised how much people like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
But what's interesting is no matter what else we're known for, books are library's brand.
Yes.
Well, even if we have all these other fascinating things, the bottom line is a lot of times books are our brand, whether we want to fight it or not. People look to us for books.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. And those new books are bright and beautiful, and a good reminder for people of what's new and what's coming out. So thank you, Jenny. That's a good one. Cindy, community drives such as Toys for Tots, collections, etc. That's a really good one, and I like that because you are reflecting your community more than
Yes.
you are trying to define it in your own way. So thank you, Cindy. I like
Well,
that.
libraries are community hubs, and anytime that we can show that we are invested in the community is going to get people recognizing us as a valued community partner. And like right now in our lobby, we have the Darien Women's Club soap drive. We are a drop-off point, so people are bringing in hand soaps and laundry detergent and everything. And then we also have we're collecting cold weather items as part of our teen advisory committee. And people can bring those types of things to us as well. And it gets a lot of love on social media and of course in our library too, because we are showing that we are invested in what is happening in our community. Not every community, we have a unique community that we have everything from multi-million-dollar houses to those that are living, they are below the poverty line. So we're very different.
Yeah, yep, and you do, yeah, that's why each library is different too. That's a really good point. Jennifer says, I shared something on the anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. Oh, great one. From the National Archives with a photo of Lincoln at Gettysburg. Photo was discovered in the 1950s and it went viral. People love hidden treasures of history in Peoria, even if not about our city specifically. Good one. Thank you for sharing that.
And you have recognized, Jennifer, that is something that works for you. So run with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Continue to make that bigger and better, and I think people really respond. We only have a couple minutes left. I'm going to try to sneak in a fourth discussion question. But if you want to keep those answers to question 3 coming in, please do so. Okay, hold on. Okay, there it is. What platforms would you like to try in the future? Where do you see social media heading? So get out your crystal ball, or take some time to imagine. If you had more time, if you had another staff person, if you had colleagues, support from colleagues in administration, what would you like to try? What would you like to do more of? Before we leave here, I'm interested in hearing from you all about what are some what are some things that you would like to try in your current platforms that you haven't done it. Maybe this could be a 2020 New Year's resolution or library resolution type thing.
YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube from Jenny.
Yep, Jenny. Yeah, YouTube. And I want to get video. Yeah, and I want to definitely concur with that. I think there are libraries that are doing some good video, but a lot of times that is because they have the ability to do so. And even though there are some examples of libraries that are doing video on a much smaller scale and doing it really successfully as well. Um, I did want to give a plug for some Rails continuing education. We've had some recent My Library is webinars and workshops on video and how to use video in your library. So you can check those out. You'll also have access to the archives of those. But man, we're getting some great responses. So much relating to video, especially. Donna says,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
What is interesting here that let's see here, where did it go? Facebook Live doesn't seem. Somebody mentioned Facebook Live. Can't see where it went, but Facebook Live did not. I've tried it a few times at Indian Prairie. I don't seem to get the love for that here. Oak Lawn, the community there loved Facebook Live. It was so interesting. We even did an online live book discussion. Via Facebook.
That's fun.
It was so much fun, and people were engaged with us, and we were live for a half an hour talking about a book. It was so much fun. And I see Snapchat. I actually want to try TikTok. I guess because it's trending with the younger generation. I probably will never try it because I don't have the time. But yeah, it seems like video is the common theme here.
Yeah. Okay, we have about a minute left. I'm going to read some of these. Donna, I would love to get more involved in YouTube, doing virtual tours of branches, sharing videos related to upcoming events, patron responses. Awesome, all great ideas. Jennifer Garden, Instagram and YouTube, although I've never seen much use in LinkedIn myself. I've been swayed toward maybe trying it out in this meeting. Great. Well, that's a win right there. Daniel, definitely YouTube, and I'm looking to expand Facebook Live or Instagram Live to get more live videos from the library. That's the Facebook Live one for sure. Jennifer D says maybe Snapchat since my daughter generation is on it so much. And then Jennifer G asks a question, for those on YouTube already, can you share other people's videos?
I've never thought about doing so. So I would have to actually look to tell you if we could or not, because I've never done that before.
I think you might be able to put them into a playlist with Jennifer, which you could, that's sort of like you're curating for the library, which is one thing that you can do. Not sure that you can quote unquote reshare other people's videos, but that is, that's what I believe you can do, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are a little bit actually past 11, so I'm going to wrap this up. Jill, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation today and for joining.
Oh, thank you.
And
it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and answering everyone's questions. Thank you to everyone who attended live today. Just so you know that this is being recorded. We're going to put this up on our Rails YouTube page, and that will be up probably later today or later tomorrow. Thank you for your wonderful participation. So many great ideas out there, and so happy to hear that all your libraries are doing interesting stuff and really being scientists on social media here today. So look for more information on our My Library Is campaign site, mylibraryis.org. And thanks again for joining us today. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.